Somewhere in America, a decision is being made that will shape the financial future of a family for generations. No breaking news alert, no ringing bell, no viral headline. Just a lawyer sliding a document across a polished wooden desk, a signature, a handshake, and millions of dollars quietly changing hands. Now multiply that scene by millions of families across the country. What you're witnessing isn't just inheritance. It's the beginning of one of the largest financial transitions in modern American history. Over the coming decades, economists expect more than $120 trillion in wealth to pass from one generation to the next. But here's the twist almost everyone misses. Most people will never benefit from it in the way they imagine. And that's because the greatest transfer happening today isn't only about money. It's about ownership, it's about knowledge, and it's about understanding where wealth is actually moving before everyone else notices. Because if you think this story is only about rich families leaving fortunes to their children, you're only seeing half the picture, the invisible shift. Every generation believes it's living through unusual times. But every so often, history delivers a shift so significant that it quietly redraws the financial map of an entire nation. This is one of those moments. America is aging. Millions of baby boomers have spent decades accumulating homes, retirement accounts, businesses, investment portfolios, and other assets. As they grow older, those assets won't simply disappear. They will change hands through inheritance, charitable giving, business sales, and financial planning. Researchers estimate that this intergenerational transfer will total well over $100 trillion over the next decades. That number is almost impossible to visualize, so let's make it real. Imagine stacking $1 bills until they reach the moon, then imagine doing it again and again. The scale is almost beyond comprehension, but focusing only on the size of the number creates a dangerous misunderstanding. Because many people hear wealth transfer and immediately think someone else is about to become rich overnight. That's a comforting story. Unfortunately, it's also an incomplete one. The truth is that money doesn't magically create wealth simply because it changes owners. History is filled with fortunes that disappeared within a generation. Why? Because wealth isn't just something you receive. It's something you know how to keep. Let's imagine 3 Americans. The first works 60 hours a week, the second owns a small business. The third owns shares in hundreds of companies through long-term investing. All 3 work hard, all 3 earn income, but only to consistently own assets that have the potential to grow even while they sleep. That difference may seem small today. Over 20 or 30 years, it can become enormous. This is one of the biggest lessons hidden inside the so-called great wealth transfer. It's not just about who inherits money, it's about who owns productive assets before the next wave of economic growth arrives. And that brings us to a question that almost no one is asking. What if the biggest winners of the next 20 years aren't simply the biggest heirs, but the people who understand how wealth moves? We often imagine wealth as a pile of cash sitting in a vault. Real wealth rarely looks like that. Instead, it hides inside businesses. Inside retirement accounts, inside real estate, inside patents, inside productive investments, inside companies creating products millions of people use every day. Money parked under a mattress stays almost exactly where it is. Money invested in productive assets has historically had the opportunity to participate in economic growth, though returns are never guaranteed, and markets can decline as well as rise. That's why some families don't merely preserve wealth. They build upon it, not because they possess secret information, but because they understand a simple principle. Ownership allows your money to participate in the economy instead of sitting on the sidelines. Here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Because while millions of Americans are focused on what they might inherit, another transfer is already taking place, one that doesn't require a wealthy relative. One that's being accelerated by technology, by entrepreneurship, and by a changing economy. And when you see where that money is flowing, you'll understand why the biggest opportunity of this generation may have far less to do with inheritance than anyone realizes. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most people. Because by now, you've realized this isn't just a story about inheritance. It's a story about where wealth flows, and money has a habit of flowing toward ownership. Not effort alone. That statement may sound unfair, but history doesn't always reward what feels fair. It often rewards those who own the tools, businesses, technologies, and assets that make economic growth possible. That's why understanding how wealth moves may be more valuable than simply knowing how much wealth exists. Imagine standing beside a river. You could spend your entire life trying to collect water one bucket at a time. Or you could learn where the river is flowing. That's the difference between chasing money and positioning yourself where wealth naturally accumulates. Throughout history, every major economic shift has created new winners. The Industrial Revolution rewarded factory owners. The internet rewarded technology companies and early innovators. The smartphone era transformed small startups into trillion-dollar giants. Today, another transition is unfolding, and once again, ownership sits at the center. This doesn't mean everyone who buys a stock or starts a business becomes wealthy. Far from it. Markets rise and fall. Businesses fail. Real estate values can fluctuate. But over long periods, productive assets have historically been one of the primary engines of wealth creation. That's an important distinction. We're not talking about gambling. We're talking about participating in the growth of the economy itself. Here's a belief many people carry without realizing it. If I can just earn a higher salary, everything else will take care of itself. Higher income certainly creates opportunities. But income alone doesn't guarantee wealth. Think about it. Every year, stories emerge of professional athletes, entertainers, lottery winners, and highly paid executives who eventually find themselves in financial trouble. At the same time, there are teachers, engineers, military veterans, and small business owners who quietly build meaningful wealth over decades. The difference often isn't income. It's what happens after the income arrives. Do you spend it? Or do you gradually convert part of it into ownership? Because every dollar has two possible jobs. It can finance today's lifestyle, or it can help purchase tomorrow's cash flow. That single decision, repeated thousands of times over a lifetime, creates dramatically different outcomes. And here's the part that rarely makes headlines. Some of the greatest fortunes in America didn't begin with extraordinary salaries. They began with ordinary people consistently acquiring productive assets over long periods of time. Nature offers a powerful lesson. A tiny seed doesn't become a towering tree overnight. Growth is almost invisible in the beginning, then something remarkable happens. The process compounds. Financial wealth often behaves the same way. During the early years, progress feels painfully slow. Your investment account seems small. Your home equity grows gradually. Your business struggles to gain traction. Many people quit during this stage because the results don't match their expectations. But compounding doesn't reward impatience, it rewards consistency. That's why the people earning similar incomes can end up with completely different financial futures. One consumes nearly everything they earn, the other steadily acquires assets that have the potential to generate future value. The gap between them isn't dramatic after 1 year. After 30 years, it can be life-changing. Now let's talk about the force changing the speed of this wealth transfer: artificial intelligence. Whenever new technology appears, public attention usually focuses on one question: which jobs will disappear? That's an understandable concern, but it isn't the only question worth asking. A better question might be, who becomes dramatically more productive because of this technology? Every major technological breakthrough has changed the value of certain skills. Some occupations declined, others expanded. Entire industries emerged that previously didn't exist. AI appears to be following a similar pattern. Businesses are using it to automate repetitive work, analyze data faster, improve customer service, accelerate research, and enhance decision-making. For workers willing to adapt, AI can become a powerful tool rather than simply a source of disruption. For entrepreneurs, it lowers barriers to creating products and serving customers. For investors, it has become one of several factors reshaping how companies compete and grow. The lesson isn't that AI guarantees success. It doesn't. The lesson is that economic transitions often reward people who learn, adapt, and position themselves early. But here's the mistake that could cause millions to miss the bigger picture. AI is only one current chapter. The deeper story is much older. It's about a principle that has repeated itself through every major economic transformation. And once you recognize it, you'll start seeing wealth differently forever. The real inheritance. When people hear the word inheritance, they usually picture money. A bank account, a house, an investment portfolio. But families often pass down something even more valuable. Habits, beliefs, knowledge, discipline. A child who grows up watching thoughtful financial decisions may inherit a mindset that compounds long after the money is gone. On the other hand, someone who receives significant wealth without understanding how it was built may struggle to preserve it. That's why lasting prosperity isn't simply transferred. It's taught, and that realization changes everything. Because even if you never receive a large inheritance, you can still become the person who starts one. Here's a question that rarely gets asked. If two families start with the same amount of money today, why is it that one family is still financially secure 50 years from now, while the other has little to show for it? Most people assume it's because one family earned more. But research and history suggest something deeper. Money can be inherited, wisdom cannot. And that may be the most overlooked lesson of the great wealth transfer. When we study families that preserve wealth across generations, a pattern begins to emerge. It's rarely just about having more money. It's about creating systems. They talk about finances openly. They prepare the next generation to manage responsibility. They think in decades instead of months. And they understand a simple truth. Wealth is easier to lose than it is to build. That's why estate planning, financial education, and long-term investing matter so much. They're not just legal or financial tools, they're bridges between generations. Without those bridges, even significant wealth can disappear. With them, modest wealth has a better chance of growing into something much larger over time. The 5 principles of the next wealth era. By now, you might be wondering, what can I actually do if I'm not expecting to inherit millions? The answer begins with principles, not predictions. Principle 1, build financial knowledge. The most valuable investment account you'll ever own is your ability to make informed decisions. Markets change, technology changes, tax laws change. But the habit of learning keeps paying dividends. Principle 2, focus on ownership. Whether it's a diversified investment portfolio, a business, intellectual property, or home equity, ownership allows you to participate in economic growth rather than only watching it happen. That doesn't eliminate risk, but over long periods, ownership has historically been one of the primary ways families build wealth. Principle 3, think beyond today's paycheck. Income pays today's bills. Assets can help support tomorrow's opportunities. The goal isn't to choose one over the other. It's to gradually use today's income to build tomorrow's ownership. Principle 4, adapt faster than the economy changes. Every generation faces disruption. Railroads, electricity, the internet, smartphones, artificial intelligence. The people who remain curious and continue learning often place themselves in a stronger position than those who assume the world will stay the same. Principle 5, leave more than money. If you're fortunate enough to build wealth, pass along the habits that created it. Teach your children about delayed gratification. Explain the value of investing. Share the mistakes you made. Because the greatest inheritance isn't just what sits in a bank account. It's what lives in the minds of the people who come after you, the moment of truth. Let's return to where we began. More than $100 trillion is expected to move across generations over the coming decades. That's an extraordinary number, but here's the truth that matters even more. Not everyone will inherit part of that wealth, and that's okay. Because history shows that every generation also creates new wealth. The entrepreneurs who solve problems, the workers who develop valuable skills, the investors who remain patient, the families who choose long-term thinking over short-term consumption, the business owners who build something that outlives them. Those people aren't waiting for history to choose them. They're preparing for history, and maybe that's the biggest misconception of all. The great wealth transfer isn't simply asking, who will receive money? It's asking, who will be ready when opportunity arrives? If there's one idea I hope stays with you after this documentary, it's this: wealth isn't built in a single dramatic moment. It's built through thousands of quiet decisions. Choosing to learn instead of ignore, choosing to save instead of overspend, choosing to invest thoughtfully instead of chasing hype, choosing ownership over impulse. Those decisions rarely make headlines. They don't trend on social media, and they probably won't impress anyone tomorrow. But over years and decades, they can change the future of an entire family. The great wealth transfer may already be underway, but your financial story isn't written by someone else's inheritance. It's written by the decisions you make from this day forward. Because one day, someone may look back at your life and realize, you weren't just part of history's greatest wealth transfer, you started one. If this documentary changed the way you think about money, don't let it be the end of the conversation. Subscribe to Mintonomics because every week we break down the economic forces, wealth psychology, and financial principles that shape the lives of ordinary people and the opportunities hiding in plain sight. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Do you think the biggest wealth transfer will come through inheritance, or through the knowledge and ownership people build for themselves? Share your thoughts in the comments, because the best investment isn't just in markets. It's in understanding how the world is changing and having the wisdom to change with it. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep thinking like an owner.